I wasn't sure what I was going to share with you today, and I just kind of have waited throughout the day. In fact, it's usually I record about a couple of hours before now. But about 5 or 10 minutes ago, the Lord showed me something and spoke something to me that I wanted to share with you. Now, to understand what he spoke to me, you have to also see the projects I've been on in the last 6 months here at my home, especially the last 3 or 4 months where I've been here at my home all the time. Back in December, I began to install lights around my yard, my front, my backyard. They're called, they can either be security lights or they can be decorative lights. They illuminate the house and the surroundings so that at night things aren't in utter darkness outside, and thus you're protected from things. And as I installed that back in December, I bought the system for it, and I laid out where the different just call it sections of my front yard and my backyard where I wanted lights. So if I could say it this way, I divided my yard into spheres. And I had a front sphere and a back sphere, and then several in those. And I began to do those. I had to hook up electricity for it. I had to wire the lights, install them, and so forth. Now let me also say, I only did this because my oldest son encouraged me to, and he basically sewed into me my first few components for my birthday and Christmas. And so that's how it started. When he first mentioned it to me, though I wanted that kind of landscape lighting outside, when he mentioned it to me, I thought, no, I don't really want that. I'm not sure I want all of these things, and it's just additional, but it's all set up so that I don't even have to operate it. It comes on at a certain time, goes off at a certain time every day, and it makes the house look beautiful at night on the outside. So anyway, I began to pursue that. It took me a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, to get everything that I needed and to lay out this network of lights outside. Well then, as I came back at the end of February, beginning of March, because of all that it was just time to be back, and then the COVID-19 came and I wasn't able to go again. And at that point, my oldest son again had also earlier given me a couple of what are called smart components for our house. This is not for the exterior, but for the interior. These are little components that you hook up and you can wirelessly operate the components they control in your house. Again, I wasn't real interested in that at the time. I said, no, it's no big deal to turn off and turn on lights and all this kind of thing. And so I didn't pay much attention when he first gave that to me, and I had a little bit of trouble putting it together, so I just laid it down. Well, over this period of months, I picked it back up again. And not only did I begin to do it, I began to do it much more than what he had even recommended or I thought I might ever do. Now, as I'm talking to you today, I've almost completed. I'm waiting for one final component to come to me. And it's a component that when I hook it up, it will make sure that the signal that I have, the Wi-Fi signal, goes strong to all the components so everything works optimally like it's supposed to. Well, what's interesting about this, as I begin to hook these components up, I noticed several things. First of all, I have at least 7 spheres in my house in which I'm going to have different components. I have them in my den, my living room, dining room, my Mindy's studio. I have it in the guest room. I have it in the grandchildren's playroom. I'm going to have a component in the garage, and in each of those rooms I have several components. And so like my exterior yard, where I divided things into components, in my house there are already spheres just the rooms and the hallways. So now I can be in one place. I install different components in each room. For instance, in my den, I have one component that controls one set of lights, another that controls another set of lights. I have a plug that controls a lamp next to my couch. I have another one that controls the sink over the light over my kitchen sink, and so forth. Our bedroom, we have one that controls our lamps, that control our ceiling fan, and it just goes on like that from all throughout the house. And what that means is that now I can sit in one place, and with my voice, I can control all of those components. Now, the key to all this is actually a group of products put out by Amazon. The key to all of this is what's called this Echo Dot. Echo Dot. This is a little device that controls all the other devices. Now, I have 7 of these devices, if you include my mobile phone, spread throughout my house. And what happens is, when I speak to this device, call it by name. I'm not going to say the name out loud right now because one of these devices is just about 10 or 15 feet from me right now, and it'll respond to me. But every time I say I'm in one of these rooms or spheres, and I say the name of the device lights up, and it listens to my voice, and it responds to what I say. Now, there's a variety of things I can say to this light. I can control all of my components in my house. For instance, I have a plug outlet that I can put 2 lamps to in my guest bedroom. So I can say the name of the device, and I can say, turn on guest outlet 1, and it'll turn it on. I don't have to be anywhere near it. I just have to be near one of these Echo Dots. And because my voice is linked through the Echo Dot, it can go throughout all of the spheres of the house. Now, what else I discovered yesterday was this, is I can play music on these. Of course, I knew that. I have an online music account with Apple Music, and I can play all kinds of songs, but hundreds of thousands of songs if I wanted to. But with this device linked to the other 7 devices, I can tell one of the devices to begin to play the song, and then I can tell it to play it on all the devices. And so what happened yesterday, I actually played Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen as my sample song. When I turned it on and put it on everywhere, no matter where I walked, in any sphere in my house, I could hear the song playing. Now, even as I'm sitting here talking to you, the Lord's just showing me more and more, and it's just one of those fun things that God gives you. But 10 minutes ago, I was standing in the kitchen getting some things for Mindy and myself. Mindy's still recovering, doing very well, but I was getting us something in the kitchen, and the Lord showed me. He says, I said to him, I said, Lord, why for the last 6 months I've set up all these components. I've actually spent some money too to do this, and I've set up, there's lots of lights and there's lots of power outlets that I've put up everywhere, outside and inside. And I said, and that's called a smart home. And I said, Lord, why am I doing all this? Because I find that when the Lord sets me on something like this, oftentimes I don't recognize it till I'm in the midst of it. And then all of a sudden I get it's like the Lord moving on me to begin to add more components to it so it becomes a completion. And today when I completed it, I said, Lord, why did you have me do this? And he says, this is what I want to show you. He says, this is what I'm doing in the earth. He says, I am showing you how my smart earth works. He said the kingdom system is a smart system. It's not designed by man, it's designed by me. Now here's the fact. In this system, God has designed the earth and put it into different spheres. We know that from Genesis because he said he filled up the waters, filled the land, filled the air. These are spheres. And then he talked about animals, plants, men. These are spheres, different kinds of relationships in different ones. Each one is vitally important. But then he put man in the midst of it. Man is like this echo dot. See, he's not very big. Man's not very big. He's just like a dot. Not much to a dot. But when God speaks and commands, and the dot echoes the voice of the Lord, here's what begins to happen in those spheres. Things begin to light up. Power begins to surge on. Just as quick as it, and as simple as it is for things to come on, it's just as simple for them to come off. All of it is linked to the voice. Now, this is what God is doing for each of us. He's doing it for you. He's preparing you as one of His dots. He's prepared you so that you can echo Him. The only way you can echo God is to listen to Him, hear Him, and whatever He says, no matter how small or how large. See, I have some things, for instance, on my echo, I've made up a list of everyone who's going to participate in the new moon gathering in a few days. And so I just tell it whose name to put on a particular list. Now, it's a little more difficult to do that than to just turn on or off a light, but it works just as simply and just as effectively. So again, you can do a variety of things. Not all of the things are the same, okay? And you can be fairly intuitive. In fact, you can find out all kinds of information. You can actually make phone calls to people through this. You can send text messages. So there's a whole range of communication between you and others because of the dot. God is opening up a whole new range of communication with the earth through you as one of His dots. It's why it's important that we be fully connected to Him. Learn how to respond to His voice so that at the moment He gives a command of what He wants to see take place, then we respond, and what He has us speak to, the power and the light comes on in that part of the sphere that He's directed us to. Now let me also say this. This is put out by Amazon, okay? And because it's put out by Amazon, there's been all kinds of questions about its security. Whether people can listen in, whether they record, all of these kinds of things. In God's smart system, His kingdom system, His smart house, He keeps His communication completely secure. That's exactly what the Apostle Paul said in Ephesians chapter 1. And so this is an important thing for us to understand as we go ahead. Because in these next days and weeks, this is what He's doing in us, for us, and through us. Now remember that when God talks about economy, the word economy means how the house works. And so God is showing us, as He showed me through this Amazon product and system, He's showing how to cast His net around it all, so that when His voice releases, it can release in one particular area and cause things to move, or it can release a song, it can release a sound that goes into all the spheres at once. And when it does that, as I can attest, when I played all those songs together, it was a very exciting and glorious thing to hear. And God's doing that for us. So we're in a very unique time right now. And it's a special time. And it's a time to see God as God had promised us. He was showing us how his house works. His house isn't simply a smart house. It's the smartest house. And it really works. And it's really secure. So I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days as we sound the shofar together.